take yourself out of your client's wallet. I have this conversation with stylists all the time, especially when we've got some products that are higher in the price point. You're talking a $40 small bottle of shampoo. People are like, well, it's really hard to sell it. I'm like, but it's not. It's not up to you whether or not they can afford that $40 bottle. That's up to them. And they're going to trust you. If that's the right product to use on them, then use it. Let them know what the benefits are.
Welcome to Brazen and Bold. Today's guest is someone that I would consider one of my very first beauty besties. And if you see him right now, you would know why, because look how beautiful he is. He is part of the power couple that owns and operates Salon 27 in Mesa, Arizona, married to Amber Pope, who I've had on the show before. But Chet and Amber were, I believe, Chet, you were working with Forrest when I first met you. You've worked for multiple salon software companies, Forrest, Vish. You've also worked across consulting and different data analytics spaces with a background in technology. So basically, you're the nerd component of the duo, but you also understand the beauty space. I remember meeting you at my salon when you helped us on board with Forrest, and you were, don't tell Forrest this, but you went way above and beyond. You were so generous and gave so much to me and my salon director, and we hit it off and became what I would consider fast friends. We mostly get to hang out at beauty events because we're both so busy on the road.
A couple miles apart from each other.
We do. But I'll tell you, you were so generous immediately with ideas and insights. And I am so excited to introduce you to our guests on the show today so that all of our listeners can hear what you have to offer. So thank you, Chet, for joining me today on Brazen and Bold.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got to get first things first out of the way. We've got the punk rock, rock and roll Hall of Fame. Tell us about your shirt and your outfit. You got a huge hobby that you're very, very committed to. Okay.
So yeah, I've got a background, like I like to consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none. But early in my career, I played in a band and ended up going out and working as a roadie for some punk bands, which now we're about 30 years deep into that quote unquote career. But what that did is it really introduced me to a lot of people back in the day. And a few years ago, they reached out and saw, everything I was doing with salons and other stuff we're doing, and asked if I wanted to hop in and invest in and help kind of get this punk rock museum going up in Las Vegas. So yeah, it's definitely one of my passion projects.
I love it. Anybody who has the privilege of knowing Chet would know that you have, I'm not trying to throw all the engineers and nerds under a bus, okay? But by the way, I use the term nerd affectionately, to be clear. And if I didn't, you'd know that too. I'd make that clear just as quickly. But you've got this, you've got a background that's pretty diverse and hobbies and passion projects that span a lot of genres. And I think it makes for a really unique perspective and ability to show up in the beauty space with insights and like being on the board of PBA. First of all, that's an amazing organization that supports the Professional Beauty Association, supporting salons and manufacturers across the country, doing a lot of important work there. And you've worked, like I said, across different disciplines in technology as your background. And then more recently in the salon space, now educating, doing classrooms, presenting workshops with your partner in business and life, Amber. It's a very unique combo. And I think it's just so fun. What got you interested in being on the board for PBA and being a part of that to start with? Tell us a little bit about the PBA.
Yeah, so the PBA was one of those things where, we had heard about it and, earlier in our days of owning the salon, and they blindly called me one day and kind of talked to me about the organization a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up, and I became a member and Amber became members. And we found out that they actually were headquartered out of Scottsdale. And we're like, oh, well, if you guys need us for anything, like we're here. And so we kind of opened our doors to them and they started leaning on us a little bit more and more.
Yep.
One of the people we met there was Leslie Perry, and we kind of hit it off immediately. and really became fast friends, sort of like you and me, Heather. And
You have a way with people, Chet.
and sometimes. And so anyway, so kind of really hit it off with Leslie, and um, I just kept saying like, "Hey, I'm happy to do more." So they put us on kind of like a focus group for salon owners, and we did that for a while. And then they they have advisory councils, so I applied to join an advisory to the Salon Owner Advisory Council, and eventually, eventually, I actually got elected to that. I got enough votes and got elected to the advisory council. And then
It's
about
awesome.
last year, the previous director stepped aside from, and Leslie got promoted to be kind of the head of the PBA, and she came to me and she's like, "Hey, remember when you told me anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Would you join the board?" She's like, would you be down to join the board?" She's like, we got a new board coming through. It's like a 4-year term, and we're getting ready to appoint new members." And she's like, "You just have so many ideas, and like, you're a doer, not just a talker. Um, so would you be into that?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, okay." She's like, "Cool. Don't tell anybody, but until we make an announcement." So I knew I was going to be joining for about 3 months before there was any
Yeah.
announcements made. And but yeah, so it's really cool kind of getting a chance to have been in all those different parts of the organization, and really just trying to help the beauty industry continue to grow and move forward. There's a lot out there, especially like on the government side of things, where they're just trying to dumb down what the beauty industry does and make it seem like it's unskilled, and try to deregulate things. And so that's a big part of what PBA does, on top of like a lot of the fun stuff, like the like NAHA awards
Yeah.
obviously are done by PBA, and recognizing that. So it's cool now on the board, with a lot of other really great people in the industry. um, I I feel like maybe I ended up there by accident, when you're hanging out with CEOs and things like that. But everybody's super positive, really just wants to help and try to make things better. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works right now that we're trying to do, and hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of it done. But really, it's just trying to help out the beauty industry, continue to help it grow, and move forward, and don't let people who don't understand it try to ruin it.
Yeah, and I think that's it's really critical. I know recently a lot of work was done around legislation with tax and
I know,
tips
tax
and
on
those kind of
tips. Yeah,
things. Yep, yep. So I mean, and that PBA and the work of those types of organizations was really instrumental in lobbying and um, helping us have similar benefits to people in service industries who are tip based, right?
100%. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
like you look at those industries that have had it for years, and the beauty's never gotten it until just recently. So yeah, that's been huge. Another thing they're doing right now is you know um, they're trying to take away government funding from like trade schools, and so they're trying to make it to where you can't get like a student loan to go to beauty school. And so that's kind of the big fight we're doing now. Luckily, something happened recently, where I think we bought ourselves another year that we can keep fighting before they decide to move forward and try to take away stuff. But yeah, like there's a whole list of careers where they are like, well, this many people go there, and the average stylist makes $20,000, so
yeah,
it's not worth the value. But the problem is, where are they coming up with those numbers? Because I know nobody that works for me makes $20,000 a year.
yeah,
And again, in the PBA, one of the things we're working on is to be kind of the central data bank, we'll say, where we can house data to help, when this kind of legislation comes around, we can be like, well, hey, we don't know where you're pulling your numbers, but as you can see here, we've got data from this many companies and this many things, and you're wrong. That's not what the
yeah,
average
yeah,
is.
yeah.
This is actually a skilled career, and it needs to be taken serious. So constantly fighting, to not have things ruined.
Yeah. Just for basic
Mm.
respect and decency and a career that we are passionate about. You mentioned maybe you got there on accident because you're up there with CEOs and important people. Um, I didn't have a complete and composite bio of you just because I know you personally so well. But
Sure.
speaking of NAHA, uh, you really are not an imposter because you are the CEO and one of the co-owners of Salon 27, who is a NAHA winner, nominee multiple times over.
We
And
did one, yeah.
that's a kind of a big deal. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to participate in the North American Hairdressing Awards and the significance of what that means.
It's pretty amazing. Again, like the cool thing is that was all before I joined the board, obviously. Um, and so we entered, for Inspiring Salon of the Year. We really it's one of those things where, and I think you're kind of the same way, Heather. We're like we don't like to run around and like toot our own horns.
Hold
And
on. Me,
so
me. I got you.
you know what I mean? Like, so we
Yeah.
didn't, like, I didn't jump at the opportunity to apply for Inspiring Salon of the Year. Like, we got nudged and prodded and poked and stuff. And so we applied three separate times. We were finalists all three times until last year, which we actually, we took it and we won. And so,
Awesome.
yeah, it's one of those, like, it's a huge honor, honestly. And you're a nominee yourself, Heather. And so
I
you can
forgot about
speak
that. I'm
to
not
that.
gonna lie. I'm like, wait,
You
I did that one time, but that was like,
you did, you
well, it
did.
just seemed like that one was definitely imposter syndrome. That one was definitely a shock for me.
But
I
it's one of
identify
those
so much
things.
more as a businesswoman than an artist, and yet that too. It's kind of
It's
fun to have a couple facets.
it's one of those things that's cool is even like becoming a finalist in the NAHA Awards is such an honor. There's so many people that apply and so much really great stuff out there that even, being a finalist is great. So actually winning the trophy and carrying the torch, it was just really it meant a lot. It's opened up a lot of doors for us. At the same
Yeah.
time, now we're no longer eligible to win again because we've won once. You can only win once that award. Um,
Oh, that specific one, but you can do different
Mhm.
categories,
We do
right?
other
Okay.
categories, but now I'm on the board. I'm pretty much out of it anyways as well.
And
Even though
to be clear, that had nothing to do with your winning. And I realized that that
yeah,
might have sounded like
yeah,
a conflict of interest or diminished the significance of it. So yeah,
yeah, no, that
absolutely.
was
Your award was completely separate.
yep,
Yes.
and that was before I was on the board or anything. So, but yeah, I mean, again, it's really cool. So we're working on some things to try to expand it to give. To your point, Heather, one of the things I brought to the board was I'm like, hey guys, you know what? Like, I love going to the NAHA Awards and like seeing all the cool hair and everything like that and the artistry and stuff about it. But you've got the one category that's like Inspiring Salon, which is like doesn't really fit in, but super cool. And then you have Educator of the Year, which again doesn't really fit in with the rest of the art stuff. I'm like, but like, what the heck? I won the one award that I can do. I don't do hair.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when are we going to give out a best spreadsheet? Because I'm really good at Excel. And so we're actually one of the things I brought to the board and they like the idea of is maybe doing like a secondary NAHA Awards like luncheon or something that focuses more on different things on the business side of things, where it's like
Cool.
um, and it won't be obviously as big of a production because nobody wants to sit through and see who got the best spreadsheet, but there's a lot of people like me that do work behind the scenes in the industry that aren't the um, you know artistic creative type people but are still super creative with maybe numbers and trying to do different things to again help the industry. So fingers crossed that we actually to do something with that. But yeah, that's something I brought to them.
Chet, I love that idea. You clearly earned your place on that board and the position that you hold there. And I think that the insights that you have, you're married to a creative genius, someone who's traveled the country and I think internationally as an artist,
Hmm.
has a lot of impact as an educator, as a platform artist doing hair. So that's one facet. And I know a handful of people who are really great at that. Like that's what they do as part of an artistic team myself, traveling and teaching classes and hair shows. I know these people. Many of them do not also have business acumen, or they have business acumen in another way, but they might not have the savvy in spreadsheets or the other things. And so you and Amber really are a unique powerhouse, and a couple that has, you've got like a lot of pillars in this universe and this world of artistry, of business, that overlap. And so I think it's kind of a unique intersection. And speaking of spreadsheets and numbers, first of all, I love that. It reminds me a little bit of um, like awards for growth in the salon today, top 200 and those kind of things. So bringing kind of the business side, I do love that because a lot of people attending are focused on that. So
Hmm.
cool. Let me know. Give me a heads up if it winds up being something I should apply for. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Um, Many artists or many owners are artists. The majority of salon owners were stylists or currently are stylists, and the artists don't always, those hemispheres of the brain between right and left aren't always communicating between numbers and metrics and business and the art. Why? And there's a struggle that I believe is unnecessary. If you could say like these are the top three numbers, or this is the one thing you need to be checking every week to a business owner, yourself as a numbers guy, self-professed, talk to our artists out there who are listening, and like what's the one thing they should have their pulse on if they could choose one thing right now that Chet Pope says they should check every
Number
week.
one thing, understanding your cost
Yeah.
per service.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the biggest thing is if you talk to any salon owner that was a stylist first thing I'm going to ask you is, how did you create your menu? Heather, how did you create your menu at Tantrum?
So I Googled a lot of salons in my area and I asked a few friends to pull some of the things from Instagram. And then we just kind of thought about it and conjumbled it and made it into a menu based on what we saw online. Was that the right
And
answer? Because
it,
that's the real answer. And that's
because it's
probably the answer of everybody.
because it's the answer for everybody. Exactly. So like what you just said, and
I
we
wasn't
did it
mocking
too.
anybody. I was telling the
No.
truth. I just said it in a stupid voice because I
Yeah.
feel so
No,
sheepish.
but it's 100% true. And
Yeah.
and I'm guilty of the same thing. When Amber and I went and, started the salon, it wasn't really me starting the salon as much as it was like Amber, the artist, like, hey, you should start a salon. Amber, give me a menu. You know what I mean? And so it took years before I really was looking at things. I'm like, why aren't we making more money? And then you
We're
come to find
charging a
out,
lot and we're not making a lot.
yeah. And so it's really understanding your costs. And so when you look, you know, one of the things, like there's a class that Amber and I teach, and it really shows like breaking down your cost per service, but down to like the foil. Like, do you know how much foil costs?
I mean, I know how much a box costs, but
You know how much
no.
a
And how
box
many
costs?
foils on
But
average?
again,
Yeah.
like each pair of gloves costs about 35 cents. Each foil costs about 3 cents, depending on whatever brand you use. And so, depending on how many foils you're putting on a head, most people don't even know how much they're spending on color. Again, and that's one of the things like from Vish that like I really loved and have kind of stand on a mountaintop and tell everybody how much I love Vish as a software, is it really helps you understand your cost per service on the color
Yeah.
side of things, right?
Yeah.
On the product you're using. But what it doesn't take into consideration is all the other little things. And so to me, most people they're still at probably 85, 90% of the salons and stylists out there don't even use Vish or Salon Scale or any of the other, maybe even Oscale, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I'm eyeballing it every day, like just give me a little bit of this and a
right,
smush of
right,
that, like that. They don't. Some people don't even keep track of it. They just do it from their
right.
heart.
And so again, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm charging, $150 for a partial highlight. Like, okay, well, how
Mhm.
much does that partial highlight actually cost you? Do you know? And the
Yeah.
answer to most people's no. And so that's
Nope.
where like you can start being profitable is take a step back and understand your pricing structure. Understand what each thing costs you. So for
Yeah.
us at our salons, like everything we do, all of our prices are based on an hourly minute,
Yeah. So
you
you're
know?
going, all right, if this is going to cost us to have this chair in this salon in this space, $40 an hour, then each service has to be generating more than that minus cost of service to give us the margin we do. Yeah. those are hard things to look at and think about because most of us are kind of like, I think I have 3 credit cards I put my salon purchases on anyway. And sometimes we just grab cash from the drawer when we're out of gloves that cost 35 cents each, apparently, or per pair. How, in being so dialed in with that, how do you balance considering and aligning toward profitability with supporting healthy culture?
I think the thing is that we take the stylist really into consideration as well. So when I'm looking at like my cost per, per service, not only am I taking into consideration what, every square foot costs me for rent and, power and support staff and everything like that, but we take our stylists into consideration too. And I build in how much should they be taking home per hour based on like my average commission split in the salon. And so that's part of the pricing structure too. And by having a really open, transparent conversation with our team about what pricing is and about what they're going to make and everything like that, it's actually built a really great culture. And
Yeah.
I can't take, all the credit on building culture because that's huge for Amber.
Yeah.
I'm again more the numbers guy. I'm a little bit more rough around the edges. I did work in punk rock for a really long time. I worked in corporate America for a really long time. Um, Beauty industry is very different than both of those, right?
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn where I need to soften things because, in corporate America, like you just do what you need to do. Otherwise, like you could get fired.
Yeah.
In the beauty
I,
world, it's not as black and white, right?
yeah.
Like you guys are behind the chair, like you're therapists first, probably, before you're even an artist. And like there's just a lot of emotion and things like that go into it that like in the analytical world, there's not emotion in numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so I've had to soften and Amber's helped me with that. But we really try to take my analytics along with how a salon runs and apply both. And again, transparency is huge.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that
Well,
does help.
transparency, like visibility on your numbers and why they matter, but then transparency with your team
Yeah,
and helping them feel factored, considered, et cetera, makes it so it's not such a cutthroat thing. Yeah. I
right.
think that that's huge. That's really important. I'm curious, with that, I hear you loud and clear on know your cost per service, know what it takes to operate this chair, this station per hour. So then you
Mhm.
can know if that cute stylist who's building is taking 2 hours for a haircut, that you're losing $30 every time she sees a haircut client. Like these are important things to know to coach to. Beyond that, um, what is one operational shift that you think a salon should implement to become more profitable?
Maybe not the most popular answer, but for us, it was moving to parts and labor.
Okay.
And so by splitting our services, our color services to where you pay a labor fee, which is, kind of your standard, partial highlights, $150. That's your labor fee. And then the parts
Yep.
part is what we get again by using Vish, where the clients actually pay the full cost of the color used on their head as a separate thing. So that's a non-commissible ticket item. And so that basically helps us make sure that we're not losing money in a color service. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Heather, if Lucy came in, like Lucy has the thickest, most dense hair ever. I can't
Lucy
charge
has
her.
more hair than all of us put together.
Lucy, Lucy 100% does. Keep that hair grow machine away from her. She's got amazing hair, but like she's got very thick, dense hair. And so her coming in and getting a color service versus me, who's got 3 hairs and a prayer, is very different. And so if you charge everybody the same thing, like I would lose money on Lucy if I wasn't parts and labor, hands down.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, like I'd make more money on me because I don't have any hair. And so by doing it, first off, it's selling it to all of our clients was easier than I think people expected because again, it's transparent. I'm not charging you a flat price and selling you something that you're not using. It's
Right.
custom to each client, and we're only using what we need on you. Somebody like, Lucy, who has a lot of hair, is not surprised by that.
She's like, oh, I have 5 extra pounds of hair.
She,
Lucy, and when I said she has more hair than all us put together, I meant collectively everyone listening to this podcast combined,
right,
plus their best friend and 2 children. Okay.
100%, 100%. She's
I,
got
I use typical color retouch for the record, folks. Lucy's our COO at Spark. And so people on the podcast, the show have heard her and seen her, and anybody who sees us at events. And I am sick and tired of being with Lucy and, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. I know she's cute. I always am like, I know her hair is the best. No, anyway, it's
really,
wonderful. It's
really
very
has the
fun.
best hair.
She is the best hair, also the best everything. She's a great human, great human. But that being
100%.
said, my typical retouch for someone with color is going to run in the 60 to 80 milliliters total, which I don't know what that is in ounces, whatever, milliliters. Lucy is typically around 300, for example. So if she was paying the flat $100 for a color retouch, I would be spending $60 of that on. It's absolutely insane. I want to know, how did you get your team bought on? Because team members who are used to, well, I make for simplicity's sake, let's all call it 50% commission. I charge $100 for a color retouch. I make 50% commission. Every color retouch I do, I make $50. How do you get them from that to saying color retouches are still going to total $100? 80 of it is commissible, and $20 goes towards the cost of color or whatever you do. How did you get the team on board with that?
So we kept the prices the same and then just removed the color. So I didn't change the prices. Instead of doing a price increase, we rolled out parts and labor. And so we, if it was $100 service, it's still $100, but that's just the service part now. So it's probably $117. So they're still making the $50.
Yeah. Okay. So they didn't get to see the increase, but you did.
And they understand the 17 is just for the product.
Hey, business owners. Yes, you. I know you're juggling it all. Marketing, admin tasks, websites, podcasts, social media. The list never ends. That's where Spark comes in. We're a virtual assistant company built just for small business owners, because once you're able to delegate, we know you'll be able to dominate. Our clients are seeing up to 30% increase in social media engagement and sales, all by letting us handle the behind the scenes work. Not to mention an incredible boost in flexibility, profit, and time. So scan the QR code right now to schedule a free chat with my team. Let's make you efficient AF and help you focus on what you do best, growing and leading your business. No, that's great. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about retail. So the first time you came to my salon, I had a great lobby. It was so cute. Waiting room, couch, chairs, snacks, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
This is why I like Chet. By the way, first of all, I don't think you're rough around the edges. I like you a lot.
Thanks.
And my bad joke that I would say is, if people think that you're too rough, they're too sensitive. And that's me speaking more like I'm probably a little bit more of a personality like yours than a sensitive, sweet one. Okay, it's fine. Anyway, I'm just saying I've always appreciated your candor. And one such time was the second time I think I'd met you, first time you're in my salon. You took a look around and you said, why do you have so much seating? And I'm like, well, for guests to wait and to be comfortable. And you're like, this is prime retail space. You walked into my salon, and I was a brand new salon owning baby. Okay. In all defense, I don't know anything about it. I did great hair. I bought a salon. Here I am. Oops. I get business now. I promise. But I remember you're like, so this should be retail. And like, you have way too many of these fluffy things. And I was like, okay. And what happened next time you were in my salon, Chet? You remember what happened?
Man, I came back and all your chairs were moved. Heather,
I was like, too bad if you're early. Yep.
I mean, yeah,
we kicked it up quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is that you walked in and all your retail was kind of hidden. And and that's the thing with retail, it needs to be visible. And your items that are your highest price point need to be the first thing everybody sees. There's
when
a
they
reason
walk in.
There's a reason you go by the mall and everybody's got window displays and they put the cutest, newest thing in the window. It's to draw people in. And so if you're trying to sell some shampoo and you have it hidden away, tucked tucked behind the counter, things like that, like it's not going to draw anybody in. It's not going to have
Yeah.
anybody go. And again, you carried some pretty retail, brands that really focus on presentation, and it was hidden.
Well, I learned and I listened because
You
I
did.
like it when people punch me straight in the face with facts, and facts don't have feelings. And Chet said, here's what you need to do, and here's why. So I bought giant shelving. I moved my seating into the salon. I call it the living room. It's the heart of the
Hmm.
salon, the processing lounge. And I mean, serves people right if they get there too early, they get to stand. Anyway,
Hmm.
we have retail on display, and I'm going to tell you, I implemented a lot of things in the time period between buying the salon when we were averaging around 4 or 5% retail to service, which
Hmm.
is abysmal. To
Hmm.
now, we closed out 2026 around 17%. And our prices have
Congratulations.
increased. Our prices have increased a lot. And I
Hmm.
think right now we're hovering in like, we hover between 15 to 17%, which is healthy retail
Yeah, that's
culture.
great.
With one stylist single handedly selling $3,000 a month every month.
I
You know
bet
who
I
it
can
is. You
guess who
try.
that is.
You want. He saw people's numbers. He's like, so if she ever gets unhappy here, I'm poaching her. We have good
Uh-huh.
jokes about this between the two
Hmm.
of us. But that being said, one of the things I did was that I switched up having retail front and center. I took your advice, and I want you to share with our listeners. So retail can just be such a challenge to people. They don't want it to feel salesy. I'm not a salesperson. How do you incorporate retail culture in everything you do besides moving it front and center, making it eye level, appealing at the checkout, et cetera? How do you develop a retail culture and consult and teach salons to do the same so it feels sincere and non-salesy? What's your trick?
Our main thing with retail is education. And so I don't ever want anybody to come into our salon and feel like they're being sold to. Nobody likes hard sales, right? And so I know there's plenty of people out there that are going to disagree with me, but like I'm not about the one where you walk up to the counter and you grab three of the items off the shelf that you used on your client and set them in front of them and be like, here's what I use on you. Have a great day and walk away. To me, that's pushy.
Yeah.
So for us, like I just make sure that when you're in the chair, the products we use on you, we have sitting in front of you the entire service with the labels facing you. Then when you grab it, you talk about why you're using it, why you selected it for their hair type, and the benefits it's providing to them.
Yeah.
And by doing that, and also talk about fun things like, oh, don't you, if you're using the shampoo, be like, okay, cool. Hey, I noticed a little build up on you today. So I'm going to use a clarifying shampoo. This is blah, blah, blah from blah, blah, blah. And while you're, scrubbing it in, talk about how great it smells. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Things like that. Because you got to think about everybody's, all the senses, right? And so,
Yes.
um, yeah, that's kind of our main thing is doing that. And we've partnered with some additional brands. Like every few years we'll shake things up a little bit with our offerings. And one of the brands we're carrying right now is really big treatment based, and so we're doing a lot more of these like hair and scalp treatments. And when people do them, they generally want to take then the matching retail set home with
Yeah.
them. Which
Yeah.
again, we're selling a treatment to about 30% of our clients.
Okay, and
So
that's a very healthy number. That's what we call enhancements at our salon as a KPI that we check out. Um, a treatment or enhancement is an add-on service
add on, yeah.
that is essentially a few minutes or less. Basically, I call it zero time and an
Yep.
extra. What are you guys selling these treatments for? What kind of price point, price
They
range?
between 60 and $80.
Oh, incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
Yeah,
they
and
take
so think about
5
that.
minutes at the bowl. Like it adds no additional time to an appointment, but it makes that ticket go up significantly. And again, they're fully
Yeah,
commissible. And so, again, the way that I talk to my staff about that is, hey, this is an $80 treatment. If they're at a 50% commission, right, they're making $50 extra and it takes 5 minutes at the bowl.
yeah,
Now, if you're making, if your average hourly is $40 an hour and you added this, you just made yourself an $80 an hour
just
or,
doubled it.
you know, and so, but I have hard rules. I'm like, do not sell things to people that they don't need. The
Right.
nice thing is we've got multiple And so there's kind of one for everybody. But if somebody doesn't need it, don't try to upsell it because
Thank
people
you.
can sniff that out and they don't, and it feels fake. And so, but the nice thing is people like them and we find that they're actually pre-booking those for when they come
Yeah.
back. So like
Nice.
you sell it once, but you keep getting that return, which is huge. And so, and
Yeah.
again, they're usually grabbing the retail and stuff to leave with it.
That's a big number, and that's a lever that we've really coached to on our team as well, is in addition to the retail number, that add-on
Uh-huh.
enhancement or treatment service where it's few minutes adding 40% to the ticket price or something like that, which is
Yeah.
incredible. Have you seen one thing, whether it's a strategy or an approach or a promotion, for example, that has shifted in your salon space or someone you've worked with, their retail culture dramatically?
I don't know if there's necessarily one thing. I think it's, you know, just remember retail has its own life, right? And so sometimes I think one of the things I remember I came in with you, besides moving your retail, I think one of the things I pointed out to you too is you had too much. It felt like a shelf at like Sally's, right?
Yeah.
Where there's like
Yeah.
a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like I've been in plenty of salons, especially when I was doing all the VIS trainings, where I would go in and they wouldn't maybe carry like one or two lines, but they'd carry, they had 50 different items from 40 different lines. You need to know that your staff needs to know what the product does, you
Right.
know? And so to me, I try to keep it no more than 3 or 4 lines, but really carry like the majority of the line. Make sure the staff understands what each product does so that they can do that education, you
Yeah.
know?
And how convincing is it? Like if someone's got 45 different lines, and when I purchased the salon and assumed it was like walking into a drugstore. I mean, there
Yeah,
was there was something for everybody from every line, every brand. And so it doesn't look credible. It's not like, oh, I see what you believe in and you stand by. It's like, we don't know. We have 45 options. It's harder to choose from. People get overwhelmed and decision fatigue. So I like that
right.
reinforcement. Yeah.
One thing I learned too is that like don't, and this really can be applied to any business, but like take yourself out of your client's wallet, right? I have this conversation with stylists all the time, especially when we've got, some products that are higher in the price point. If you're talking a $40 small bottle of shampoo, people are like, well, I just, it's really hard to sell it. I'm like, but it's not. It's not up to you whether or not they can afford that $40 bottle. That's up to
Yeah.
them. They're coming here and they're going to trust you. If that's the right product to use on them, then use it and let them know what the benefits are.
You brought up a really good point when you said don't sell something that they don't need. Don't let someone get a treatment they don't need, but don't let someone go on with product that they don't need. I
100%.
think the transparency and integrity is like, then I can credibly say, this is going to do this for you. And I believe in it. Here's why, versus I have a quota to make and you need to buy two things today. So take it home. I think that that's really, really powerful and impactful. And when we're telling the truth, not only does it work better for our own, energetic, like this is healthy for all the humans to tell the truth, but how powerful and beneficial it is when you're making a suggestion and it's sincere and your belief in it is sincere as well. So that's really impactful. I think that does make a huge difference in retail
I
sales.
and again, I think people can sniff it out. I think people like transparency and everything like that. When people come in, like, I'm not the cheapest salon in the area. I'm probably not the most expensive salon in the area though either. We stand behind what we do, but at the same time, if I caught anybody you know, selling a treatment to somebody who really didn't need it, like we would have a conversation. At the same
Yeah.
time, I love when I hear clients come in who like kind of want a treatment. They're like, oh, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I need a treatment, blah, blah, blah. And we go to them and be like, no, your hair is actually really healthy. Like you don't actually need a treatment right now. And they're like, oh. And I think, there's probably some of those owners out there that would be kind of bummed about it.
Yeah.
Like why are
Yeah.
you not why are you not taking advantage of this upsell opportunity? But like, for me, it's like no, like, we need to be real because that client's going to remember that. And if they come back the next time and we suggest that they do something,
And
they're
be
going
like,
to be
well,
like,
I
oh,
must
well,
need
it's
it.
cool because I asked about it last time and you said, no, my hair was super healthy. But you're right. I have been in the pool all summer long and in the chlorine, in the sun. And yeah, my hair probably is a little bit dry and damaged. So
Nice. I like that. I think that that's really helpful. And I want to switch gears because your technology background, and I think it's something
yeah,
that's worth discussing. Um, what trends do you think in technology? What trends do you think salon owners are by and large overlooking?
AI. I
Give me a
mean,
little more
listen,
detail on that. Like,
if you were at any of the,
give me specifics.
salon,
What do you mean? In
if you
what
were at
way?
any of the salon owner events and stuff this past year, that AI is like the hot topic. And I think we need to look at the difference between what is AI for real and what is just automation. Because
Thank
a
you.
lot of these companies are out there selling AI that's really just automation that's been around for decades. And it's like, yeah, cool, bro. Like everybody
Yeah.
does that. I mean,
Yeah.
like true AI. So for us, like we have AI phone system. My AI phone handles 65% of my call volume. That means
Okay.
I'm able to have one less full-time employee at the front desk answering phones.
There you go.
But I make it easy for people too. Back to that transparency thing and thinking about the clients and thinking about my staff. I literally uploaded like 30 different phrases and words you can say that will immediately route you to a person at the front desk.
Awesome.
So I don't make it difficult to talk to a human, but at the same time, the AI is real smart and you can call it 24/7. And
There
so
you go.
it plugs right into my software, it answers the phones, it does everything like that. The other thing AI that I'm working on right now is I'm having this built at the moment and really it's kind of done. It just needs to be tested, but they're waiting on me and I've been gone nonstop. So you understand my travel.
Yes.
But one of the things that a lot of people don't take into consideration is me and you, Heather, the salon owners. When you look at these software companies, they're always doing everything that's great for the stylist and everything that's great for the clients, but they don't really ever take into consideration the salon owner. And so, one of the things that I found as not to pivot topics, but if you want to talk about it, generation, the generations have changed. What people's desires and needs as workers has changed. And if we don't change as people, we will fail and close. And so we've
Right.
become really flexible with our staff. And I understand that, like, hey, if you have something going on and you just really need that personal day, I'm not going to say like I get it because I'm old and
Yeah,
I'm,
because we don't, and we show up even if we're barfing our guts out, we put a mask on,
yeah,
like, we'll be
right.
fine. Yeah.
But in all reality, I shouldn't expect everybody else to do that just because that's how I
Thank
was
you.
raised, how I work.
Yeah.
Because in all reality, this new generation probably has it more right than I do. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
gonna if they're feeling sick, they're gonna stay home, which is probably what I should do, but it's not how I was raised, right?
We've raised a bunch of snowflakes to listen to their bodies and to have healthy, well adjusted interpersonal dynamics. I'm
Exactly.
appalled at this young generation.
So, but one of the things that really irritates me, besides not working through losing an arm, is when they call out and they call out to
Yeah.
me. So I created AI system that they can text out through AI and it will automatically reach out to their clients and get them rebooked and everything.
Nice.
And so that way it keeps me from getting a 6 a.m. phone call and waking me up or whatever. And then me immediately having to not only get my kids ready for school and get ready to go to work and everything myself, but then start reaching out to clients at a reasonable hour, but with enough time before they would be leave to come
It's
to
the scramble.
someone like
Yeah.
that. Anyway, so I've got that going, and we're really close to implementing it, and I just need to test it, but it should work fine. It's using kind of the same plugin I'm using for the phones, which is really smart and can easily move people. So, and we're based on level system. So I built a bunch of rules in there about it to
Yep.
where it make sure like it tries to find if they want to see somebody else the same day, it'll try to find somebody in the same level first. It's not if you're going to see like my most senior person, it's not going to offer like a junior
Yeah.
role, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It will start with the most similar, and then it will start kind of going up from there. So,
Awesome. I
but
love
there's so
that.
many
I love
different things you can
innovations.
you can utilize AI for. But again, this is true AI because it is intelligent, and
Yeah.
it's looking at things, and it you know but yeah, and it also makes my life way easier. And
Well, and that's the intention when we automate things, which is different than AI, and then we also incorporate intelligence into it. It's pretty impactful and powerful. And I know that there are ethical questions and concerns around the use of AI, and all of those things are definitely worth considering. But um, utilizing it in a way that's going to help build the business, build the community, help you have a higher touch with your interpersonal dynamics, lead better, and run a stronger business is important. I've definitely been working as well on a couple of things behind the scenes, and that is the most I will say about it, but working on some stuff myself that I've been implementing in my salon and trial and error. So maybe you now have an offline phone
yeah,
call about that. And it's really exciting though. And that's why I love talking to innovators. And I think especially people with exposure to different spaces. I've said this too many times, so listeners might get tired of it, but maybe it's because they need to hear it. The type of thinking that created the problem in any given industry or space is not the kind of thinking that's going to fix it. And so connecting with people across disciplines and learning from people. I'm reading books. It, I've talked about this a few times as well. I'm obsessed with learning and growth and reading. I consume a lot. We were talking earlier before we started recording about like how you decompress. Watching some junk TV dating shows or whatever with your
yeah.
spouse and those kind of things. And some of those, I'm like, yeah. Does it count as decompressing if I read a different book about business or something in a different sphere of business? And it's maybe a compulsion. I think I probably could seek treatment for it at this point, but I'm really, really loving it. And I find that looking at things from another perspective, how one industry is implementing something or how a different business solved a challenge here in their workforce, we can be like, hey, we spin it and put it through our processing system and our own expertise and then populate something that will help our teams or our business space, which I love. And so I think given your background and the things that you've shared, I think it's been just super impactful to you having those unique perspectives from the Punk Rock Hall of Fame. Is that what it's called? Did I say it
Punk Rock
right?
Museum.
Museum. Listen, sorry. Okay, you're a Hall of Famer in my mind, but yes, the Punk Rock Museum and those kind of things. But things that you're learning from that, and from going on the road with fans, and different things that you've done in that space, to technology, to salon ownership, to now educating in the space, to working with salon softwares and technologies. I think that's what really gives you a unique perspective that's super valuable, and I'm sure our listeners would agree.
I think it's kind of fun too because I take things from the salon industry and also point them in the other applications as well. Like I can't like Amber and I had a really good like sit down marketing conversation with the team at the museum on how to you know implement some of the stuff we utilize in the salon and how it can be applied in in the museum. And yeah, it's cool kind of seeing different types of businesses and how like certain things can work with minor tweaks across multiple lines. But I feel like a lot of people are
Yes.
scared in the salon industry, and for a really long time I felt like things progressed very slowly in the salon industry. I think COVID really kind of flipped everything upside down and made people have to rethink about things. And I feel like if you look at the progression that's happened in the salon industry post COVID, there's been more that's happened in the past, 6 years, 5, 6 years, than probably the previous 30. And again, I think, people now post that have really kind of focused and changed and have been more open to it. But I'm a firm believer that if you're not progressing, you're dying.
Adapt or die is right. That's it. And we've come to the point in evolution and the speed of adaptation in industry and consumer habits and consumer behavior in what's trending, where it is no longer a matter of like I'll get around to that or I'll jump on the next thing. It's like you do this or you die. And I think that's super critical. To that end, as a couple concluding questions I have for you, one would be maybe don't have a book, but if there's a book that you think every business owners should read, Maybe it's a podcast, if not. But was there one book you'd recommend every business owner gets their hands on, no matter their industry?
I'm going to tell you, I I'm not a big. I like reading books I like autobiographies and stuff like that. So for me, like I personally, just kind of listen to books about from other people that have done things and listen to that.
That counts. That's valid. That's what I mean,
But
Chet. Like
I
maybe
mean,
learning about one of these people changed you.
listen, Matthew McConaughey, Red Light, Green Light.
Okay.
I don't know if you've
Awesome.
read that book or whatever. When you read it, you can totally hear him saying it. Or if you have like an Audible subscription, you can actually listen to it
Can literally hear him saying
where
it.
he is actually reading it. But it's funny because it's a really fantastic book. It's more of like a life book than business, whatever.
That's
But
fine. It's perfect.
that one's really fantastic. And Amber probably said Radical Candor. I know that's her favorite kind of business book. And so she's forced me to read it. It's good. Again, I'm not a huge business book reader, but that one is actually really good. So
I think that's incredible. And frankly, autobiographies and history, like I mentioned, learning across disciplines is what we can use to implement and make everything about our lives better. And like you said, it can go reverse directions as well. It's reciprocal.
100%.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. It doesn't have to be a business specific book, but one book everybody should read. I love that. Red Light, Green Light by Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Finally, concluding, I want to know, what does being brazen and bold mean to you?
Oh man. Just do it, I guess, right? Like to me, like I don't know. For me, and again, I think it's where you and I are pretty similar. Is I think it and it comes out my mouth, but I also put my money where my mouth's at, and so I'm going to do it. So I'm gonna be out there, and I'm going to do it. But I'm also somebody who is thinking about only trying to do things that are positive for everybody. So that's it. I think I'm bold. I'm going to say what I'm thinking, and I'm going to tell somebody if they're doing something that I feel is not cool for everybody. Not that
Yeah.
I'm not the world police or anything, but I yeah, to me, I'm always going to do what I feel is right and that is going to be beneficial to everybody, and I'm going to tell somebody if they're not. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Chet. Where can people find you or connect with you if they are interested in learning more?
Man, they can hit me up. I'm on Instagram. It's just at Chet Pope, or you can do at 27 the Salon, and that's for the business. I'm also at Fragrance Gang on Instagram. If you want to smell
Speaking
real
of
good,
hobbies,
if you want to smell real good, my for hobbies, I work and I open businesses. So I do sell perfume on online, and so Fragrance Gang is that. I'm also on TikTok at Fragrance Gang Decants. My team, my social media team is forcing me to make videos and do things that I don't normally want to do. But yeah,
do you do little like, here's my perfume, and then you do the little, you
I,
do your TikTok showing
I'm,
people how
I'm
you.
a TikTok. I do little reviews. But yeah, like I'll grab like a bottle and I'll hold it up and talk about it and talk about the notes and talk about why I like it. And there we go.
I
Sometimes
think
I
it's
bring
so
my kids.
fun.
Sometimes I bring my kids on and have them talk about it too, and it's pretty fun. Those ones get more views for sure.
Okay, well, I think it's great. And this just goes toward the idea that developing all the facets of our brains, our characters, our business, our personal lives, and our interests is going to make not only ourselves more interesting, our businesses more robust, and also add a lot of value to our community. Biggest takeaways today, I think, Chat, is just the number that every salon owner should be looking at is, what is their price per service. I think that's a huge takeaway. And then also always be looking in every area of your hobbies and so forth to make not only your brain work a little bit better, but the world a better place. And I appreciate that. And I believe that is something that you and Amber do well. Thank you so much again for joining me on Brazen and Bold. And thanks, guys, for listening.
Thanks.